If you recall very well, after that, after Comrade Mandla Msibi was suspended and appealed, he could participate. Remember, he also campaigned. He also was put in Parliament in the provincial legislature. It is up until the 22nd when the verdict was issued out. Then he was invited out of the legislature.
How do you envisage your relationship with him will be, simply because you are one of those that testified against him in the NDC?
My testimony, it was just the truth. The assumption will be that like he was just thrown out of the PC.
Mpumalanga, welcome to it. It's yet another episode. It's an update. It's not the long, lengthy conversations where we get to profile some of our political leaders. And today we are sitting with the Provincial Secretary of the ANC, Ubabu Muzi, Chirwa, MG. Chirwa, as some call him. And it's an honor for us to sit down with him. Particularly, it's the D-Day. Today is the 22nd of July as we record. It's the uplifting of the suspension of Ubabu Mandla Msibi. You remember that he was suspended by the PDC of the ANC in the province on the 9th of April. And today marks almost a year following the NDC report. And Ubabu Chirwa is going to reflect with us some of the decisions they took. In fact, the PDC took, because he gets to speak on behalf of them as well to a larger extent, because he's the secretary. Secretary,
yeah, and your workers and your listeners.
Yeah. No, but let's reflect back into what happened in January that, subsequently led to a suspension. But I'm more interested on, is Ubabu Mandla Msibi suspension over?
Yes, I can confirm that today is the 22nd of July. Comrade Mandla Msibi, the provincial treasurer, his suspension has ceased, has ended. To that effect, we have written a letter to him later in the afternoon to inform him and his attorney that the suspension has lifted itself automatically. Yeah. Then today he has assumed his responsibility and can now take full participation in the activities of the movement. Yeah. I think that's what is happening at this point in time. I've accordingly also informed and reminded the PC through a letter, and I've also informed the branches about that matter, because he's going to work with all of us in the movement, in the province and in the country.
What does that mean? Does it mean that he resumes his responsibilities as treasurer, or does it mean that he now is able to participate as an ordinary member of the ANC?
Yes, because remember, he was suspended. The membership was suspended while he was in office. When it is lifted, that means everything is retained to normal.
Okay. Yeah. So automatically it means that the acting treasurer ceases to be then the acting. He then comes into his position.
Yes, the acting treasurer has been informed by myself telephonically this morning, and the letter to thank her of the work that she has done. And I know for sure that together with the Comrade Mandla Msibi, they will sit somewhere and also share what has been taking place in the movement a year ago.
Yeah. Let's talk about the dates, because it seemed to have confused a lot of people. Some have said that the suspension ought to have been lifted in 9th of April, whereas I remember there was somewhat of an informal conversation you and I had, and you said, no, Musa, the suspension was not yet done. When you read the last part, I think it's point 95 of the NDC report, it talks of the fact that as the NDC, they were not interfering with whatever decision that had been taken, and then they thought that the sanction was appropriate. So please clarify that line for us. What does it mean? Does that line mean that whatever sanction was posed by the PDC stood as it was, including the date, or does it mean that simply because he appealed, then automatically the new date had to be the 22nd of July?
Yes, in an event when you appeal, that means everything else, all the processes, including the decision of the PDC, is halted, is kept at abeyance to allow for the NDC to take all its processes ahead If you recall very well, after that, after Comrade Mandla Msibi was suspended and appealed, he could participate. Remember, he also campaigned. He also was put in Parliament in the provincial legislature. It is up until the 22nd when the verdict was issued out. Then he was invited out of the legislature. That is when, even in terms of the letter that was written to him, it says your suspension is with effect from the 22nd of July 2024. That means the other period when we have appealed, so you don't count that. Hence the year now, it has concluded. I want to thank also Comrade Mandla for the discipline that he has displayed during this period of the suspension. Not an easy assignment. Of course, others will just decide to leave the movement, feel aggrieved and so on. But want to appreciate that we'll be working together with him, taking the movement forward, as we are taking it also to different regional conferences as well.
How do you envisage your relationship with him will be, simply because you are one of those that testified against him in the NDC?
My testimony, it was just the truth. Yeah. You know, if you talk something that is a truth, you don't have to explain yourself all over the place, because what you say is a truth. And so I suspect that myself and himself will be continuously working together, building structures of the ANC across the province, and taking these structures to conference. I don't anticipate any animosity at all. Like myself, I assume him as a leader of the ANC as he comes back.
No, Bala, there's always been a trend in the ANC that, especially treasurers of the ANC, they must at least be in a senior position, even in government, for them to also interact with sympathizers of the ANC, those who want to pledge and donate to the African National Congress. Simply because as a treasurer, he has to fundraise for the runnings of the ANC's programs. Do you envisage that right now his reinstatement, particularly in the PEC, will somewhat usher him back into government?
I just wanted to answer something in terms of him reinstated to the PC. Because the assumption will be that like he was just thrown out of the PC. He remained a member of the PC, however, with his membership being suspended, which disallowed him to continue to work in that PC. When you reinstate that membership, as well as the office automatically kicks in. However, also in the ANC, you normally see many people who are officials of the ANC, all of them being in the cabinet, especially in the legislatures, executing different responsibility. Only the secretary will remain in the organization. Remember that at this point in time, we have just done a recent cabinet reshuffle. But however, the issue of the cabinet matters are a matter of the premier of the province. These are his prerogative. I won't say that if you come back, you go to the cabinet or not. So in other provinces, not all of the officials are in the cabinet. So we will discuss that on Monday. We have already indicated in the letter to Comrade Mandla that on Monday, the 28th, we'll be sitting with him in the officials. We'll discuss this and that, and also we'll share with us his experiences during his suspension, and the processes that we'll be taking collectively to renew the African National Congress. That matter is a matter that we'll discuss on Monday, but however, the issue of the cabinet is a prerogative of the premier.
Just maybe as we conclude on this particular subject, one of his concerns that really led to ultimately his suspension has been Nkosi City, and he was bemoaning the issue of the road infrastructure leading towards areas such as Pinar and many other areas. That was at core. In fact, even if you read the NDC report, those are some of the sentiments that are said to have been raised by the appellant there. As the ANC, how much of favor or how much of the issue of Nkosi City and the road infrastructure within the areas of Pinar does occupy largely the delegates of the ANC, particularly in the municipality or even in provincial government, to ensure that at least that particular adoption of the project of Nkosi City, to a larger extent, even the road infrastructure, is prioritized?
I went to Pinar when there was a march to respond to their memorandum. When they came to the office, I was not here. I went with Comrade Mandla there. We met comrades. we explained ourselves. We said we support Nkosi City development. We also support development that comes everywhere where there are cities that are newly established as a province. Even the Premier pronounced on that. And even in terms of the infrastructure development, service delivery, we support that our people must receive service delivery. So there is no any other different view in terms of that. However, the issue that was at hand was not the issue of Nkosi City or the issue of the road.
Yeah.
It was the issue of the approach of how the matter was raised.
Sure.
At the time when we had a January 8 here in the province. Even when you read that NTCA report, it does pick it up that the ANC January 8 event is one of the most greatest event in the calendar and in the world, not only in the continent. So if you all of us are committed to make sure that it gets successful, fully executed. So that's what was the matter at that point in time. But it's a matter already under the bridge, as we welcome Comrade Mandla Msibi, right here in the PC officials. Steam ahead to build the movement.
Yeah, without a doubt. Before maybe we conclude our conversation, this weekend, the REC of the ANC in Ehlanzeni will be convening their conference, elective conference, and I've since noted the other ones are still yet to formally pronounce as to when they are going to be convening. But maybe what role does your SGO office plays in those conferences, and also what seems to be the level of preparedness ahead of this particular elective conference?
There's a lot that we as the Provincial Executive Committee are certain that these conferences do sit, especially in their committees. The Credentials Committee were there, Steering Committee were there. When they dealt with the issues of the dispute, it is the PDC that deals with those. So we're there in these spaces and make sure that the preparation of the venues, everything is security is up to scratch. So I can just confirm that Ehlanzeni region is not going to sit this weekend. They planned to sit this weekend. However, we're still waiting for the final verification report of their branches. So that once it is received, then they will indicate the date. Maybe they may sit next week. I may not be sure about that, because it is subject to us receiving a final verification report from the Secretary General of the ANC.
Yeah. How much is that particular role, Nopala? Because I've noted that since you've introduced this new system of membership, there seems to be a delay in quite a number of things, including even the PGCs, because I've since noted that I'm told by those in the ANC that the PGC was supposed to also sit, but it keeps being moved forward because also the conferences are being planned. Just maybe just talk us through around the new membership system. How much is it affecting just the runnings of the ANC internally?
Yeah, we are still getting used ourselves to the new membership system, but in terms of ordinary running our processes of the PPGM, PGMs, all members of the ANC and leaders of the ANC at the branch level, all the levels, are aware what needs to be done.
Yeah.
The only hiccup is the issue of processing of the data, the big size of the data in this system, so that all members of the ANC are captured. In an event when some members are not captured, you are likely to get disputes in a number of branches. That's an issue that has delayed us. Otherwise, we could have gone to vote the PGC and the regional conference maybe towards the end of April, as per our original plan. But we are very much patient with ourselves and the system itself, because it is our system. We are moving. Like today, we have just also issued probably the last update of the roadmap, because the roadmap has concluded on the 15th. So we've given extension up until to the 17th of August. That will cover the two regions that are still behind, Khartsibande and Nkangala. But Ehlanzeni has already passed the 70% mark, which was 91. Now they are at 106 branches. They're still going to have maybe new branches in the last final audited report. From there, we clear issues of the disputes. They go to conferences. The other two regions will come into that. But yes, the system, it has been a challenge. We've been battling it. However, we are patient with it. As you know, that this year we're preparing also for the National General Council.
Sure.
Very important. We're still going to use the same system. And the very similar branches are the ones that are going to elect delegates and do discussion, to conduct discussion documents in the form of political education.
Yeah. I just had an epiphany, Nopala. Apologies. Remember when Sibongile Makushe Mazibuko assumed the position of acting treasurer? She was from the additional list, and when she left, there was a vacancy. Who filled it in that vacancy?
No, she didn't leave her position as an additional member.
Okay.
She only just assumed the responsibility.
Acting role.
That's why I call it acting.
Okay.
Of acting the position of the Comrade Mandla Msibi, so that she can play that responsibility of ensuring that we have some resources that are required.
Yeah.
That's the term that Comrade Mandla is back. Comrade Sibongile Makushe will revert. As simple as that, as an additional member of the Provincial Executive Committee.
Without a doubt. No, Bala, all the best in the work that you do. Yeah. And you like calling me Comrade Musa. Are you loving me? No, Bala?
Yeah, I was loving many members to be, many people to be members of the ANC.
Yeah.
That's the only movement that is big here in Africa.
Yeah.
The oldest there.
No, thank you so much, Nopala Sabonga Skatsako.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.